Corn School is brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
So we're back with Dr. Clarence Swanton talking about weed control, and we're going to move on to cover crops because we're really trying to bring them into the production system. But I worry a lot, Clarence, in terms of I plant my corn into a live cover crop. Is that a good thing?
Well, our work would say no. That's about the last thing you want to do. Okay. Because if it's, and I understand why you might want to have it green and be able to hold it, but our work would suggest that if you plant into a green crop and the corn or the crop plant comes up and detects that there's a green cover crop there, it's going to experience competition from that. It's going to change its physiology in response. And we see that whether it's a cover crop or with a weed, we see that same type of thing. So when the crop comes up, ideally it should be only seeing its own sibling and not see the presence of a cover crop.
So wait a minute, you said I get that, okay, the green sensing, but you said it should only see its own sibling. Well, won't it sense its own sibling? That's more green material, so it's just like a weed?
Well, it's kind of fascinating. We're beginning to explore whether a plant, a corn plant or a soybean plant, has a different method of detection if it's detecting its own type, such as another corn plant or another soybean plant, or how does that differ between detecting the presence of a cover crop or the presence of a weed. And we actually have some initial evidence to suggest that a plant knows whether it's a sibling beside it or it's a stranger beside it. And that's really, really cool when you think about that ability, right?
Wow, that's amazing that it could sense that difference. That's really quite incredible. So it doesn't sense its sibling, but in terms of the cover crop, we really need to get that out of there. So I'm going to spray my glyphosate and plant my cover crop, or plant my corn the next day. That's an okay thing, or how would that work?
Yeah, that won't work either because of the slow kill of glyphosate. And so we want to be sure that everything is dead when the crop comes up. So if that's what you're doing, if you have, say, rye over winter, you want to kill that a couple of weeks before so that you've got lots of time for that glyphosate to burn off the rye and then plant the crop. You do not want to have a dying but still green cover crop there as the crop comes up because they will detect those differences.
Yeah. Okay, so what about the benefit of the cover crop versus the detriment of this sensing? Because we're pretty sure that with better soil structure out of the cover crop, do you think that better soil structure, that better environment in the soil for the corn plant could help overcome or would actually balance out this sensing and yield loss by the light competition or the weed competition?
No, I don't think so. I fully appreciate the value, and I think that's the way to look at cover crops, is around the benefit to soil structure. Certainly we know that early competition from that cover crop could change the yield potential very, very quickly in some of our major crops. So use your cover crops, but use them at the right time and in the right way.
Okay, so one last quick question, because I know you've done some research around neonics, and I know neonics really aren't something that people like to think of positively, but in your research you've actually found that the neonic can help overcome some of the stress that weed right beside the plant might create. Is that a fair comment, or how does that?
Absolutely. Normally we think about seed treatments as protection from insect and diseases. And one of the fascinating things in our research is we found that if you treat the seed with a neonic, it actually enhanced the stress tolerance of the plant. And this is an amazing thing. It actually was able to trigger genes that enabled the plant to minimize the impact of the weed in terms of early competition. And that type of interaction has never been seen before. And so just the thought that you could put a small bit of chemistry on the seed and change the stress tolerance of the crop, to me, is a phenomenal attribute.
Yeah, that's incredible. So if we do get in a situation, I have my annual ryegrass that I put out there in my corn, and now I'm planting my soybeans into it, and the weather doesn't give me the chance to get that early kill, and annual ryegrass kill apparently is quite a bit tougher than I realized. It's another thing I think we need to talk about at some point, but I'm within 5 days. I don't want to delay my soybean planting, because the early I plant soybeans, either a neonic on that soybean seed might well help it mask the results or that impact of the slow kill of the glyphosate, or something to burn the ryegrass back quicker if I add Aragon to the glyphosate so that I brown it up quicker. Both of those would be things that would be a positive in terms of that scenario.
Right. Our work would suggest that the faster you can burn off the cover crop in respect to the timing of your planting and the emergence of the crop, the better it's going to be. Okay? So an ideal thing would be to have a very fast burn down, right? We also, our work would suggest, now we've never tested what you're suggesting there, but the seed treatment should provide you a bit of buffer against the impact. If you're late in getting control of your weeds, having a seed treatment there might help reduce the negative impact of the delay in kill of a cover crop. That's possible based on our work, but hasn't been field tested.
Yeah, but I mean, and when we say a seed treatment, we are talking neonics in this situation. That's the chemistry that we're talking about. Yep. And I just find it really amazing that even though it hasn't been tested, at least it's a suggestion, because growers get caught all the time, and I think that's way cool, that a couple of things that might actually help them.
So maybe in the future, there might, like, I think around the seed treatment issue is just this discovery about how seed treatments can trigger better stress tolerance in plants, and we look forward to testing different types of chemistries with that focus in mind, rather than solely around crop protection. So I think it opens up a whole new world of possibilities for new technology for Ontario growers.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a good thing that you're still a young guy, Dr. Swanton, because you can never retire. There's just way too much to learn. Very, very cool stuff. Thanks very much, Dr. Swanton. On behalf of realagriculture.com, more good stuff to come, and get those cover crops planted.